audible, ma? So what we have discussed in the last class? In the last class, we have discussed that discrete probability distribution, right? So what do you mean by a probability? What is sample space, event, random variable, and mean, expected value, variance, and standard deviation. We have discussed all those topics and we have seen some problems on that, right? In today's class, we will see the Bayes theorem. We'll discuss about the Bayes theorem in today's class, right? Now, can anyone tell me what is the use of this Bayes theorem, or what are the applications of the Bayes theorem? What are the applications of the Bayes theorem? Can anyone tell me what applications we'll use? Or what is a Bayes theorem? So this generally this Bayes theorem, it is used for determining the conditional probability. Yes, conditional probability, right? So based on the previous outcome, if you are preventing the present outcome by using the previous outcome, if you are deriving the present outcome, then you can use this Bayes theorem. Some of the applications of this Bayes theorem are finance system, right? So finance system. So what happens in this finance system? So using this Bayes theorem in the finance, it can be used to rate the risk, of the lending money, correct? So based on the previous transaction, you can rate the risk of lending money to a particular person in a finance system. So this comes under this Bayes theorem. Based on the previous history, you are able to rate the present risk, right? So this is one application of a Bayes theorem. Now, let us suppose if P of A is the probability of A occurring, and if P of B is the probability of B occurring, P of A by B is the probability of A given B. Probability of A given B. P of B by A is the probability of B given A. And P of A and B means probability of both A and B occurring, right? So if these are the probabilities given, then using the Bayes theorem, P of A by B is calculated as P of A and B by P of B. P of A by B can be calculated as P of A and B by P of B. Okay? So the generalized formula, or P of A by B, you can write it as P of AI by B equal to P of AI by P of B by AI whole divided by summation of I is equal, summation of I is equal to 1 to K P of AI into P of B by AI. Clear, ma? So this is the general formula for Bayes theorem. P of AI by B equal to P of AI into P of B by summation of P of AI into P of B by AI. Is it clear, ma? Now we'll see some examples on this. Is it clear? Yes? Now let's see some examples on this Bayes theorem. Are you following? Let us see one example. Consider there is a manufacturing factory. There is a factory where three missions are there. A, B, C are the three missions. Let us suppose it is a soap manufacturing company. So where three missions are available, A, B, C. So this mission A is producing 25% of the product. B is producing 35% of the product. That means 35% of soaps. 40% of the soaps are produced by mission C. Right? Out of these, 5% are defective. 5% are defective. Out of B, 4% are defective, and from C, 2% are defective. Right? This is the information given. There is a soap manufacturing company which contains three missions A, B, C to produce the soaps. And the mission A can produce 25% of the soaps, B produces 35, C produces 40. So out of this total, 5% are defective soaps from the mission A. 4% are the defective soaps produced by mission B. 2% are defective produced by mission C. Right? Now, what is the probability? So if a soap is drawn, then you need to find the probability. If it is probability of defective soap, what is the probability of the defective soap if it is drawn from the mission B? Is it clear? What is the probability of the defective soap if it is drawn from or if it is produced from mission B? Is it clear, ma? Is the question clear for you? Question అర్థమైందా? Are you there? Now, let's find the probability. So, assume that E1 is one event which represents the soaps produced from mission A. So, what is the probability of E1? Probability of the soaps produced from mission A is 25 by 100. Then probability of E2, probability of the soaps produced from mission B is 35 by 100. Probability of E3, or simply let me write probability of A. That means probability of the soaps produced from the mission A is 25 by 100. Probability of B is 35 by 100. Probability of C is 40 by 100. Right? Now, out of which there are some defective soaps. Right? So, the defective soaps from mission A. The defective soaps from mission A is how many? 5%. So, 5 by 100. The defective soaps from mission B. The defective soaps from mission B is 4 by 100. And the defective soaps from mission C is 2 by 100. What are we supposed to find? You need to find the probability of the defective soap if it is from mission B. Probability of the defective soaps if it is from mission B. So B by D are we supposed to find out. You know what is the formula for this? P of B into P of D by B whole divided by summation of this. That means here we have three missions. So it is P of A into P of D by A plus P of B into P of D by B plus P of C into P of D by C. Clear? Now you can substitute the formula. Here I am writing. P of B is what? 35 by 100 into P of D by B is 4 by 100 whole divided by P of A is 25 by 100 into D by A is 5 by 100 plus 35 by 100 into 4 by 100 plus P of C is 40 by 100 into D by C is 2 by 100. If you simplify, you will get the value. Is it clear? So this value P represents what? Probability of the defective soaps, probability of defective soaps if it is from mission B. Could you repeat what? Five 7E. You didn't understand the question? 7E. What are we supposed to find is if a soap is drawn randomly. Clear. 7E. Listen now. So 3 missions are there. A, B, C. A is producing 25% of the soaps. B 35, C 45. And out of these total soaps, there are some defective soaps. And in those defective soaps, 5% are defective soaps from mission A, 4% are from mission B, 2% are from mission C. Now, when a soap is drawn at random, then you need to find the probability of the defective soap if it is drawn from mission B. Probability of the defective soap if it is drawn from mission B, you have to calculate. 7E, is it clear? 7E. Okay. So, have you understood this solution now? How we got this? Oh, you simplify and you will get the value, right? I am not simplifying here. Okay. Shall I move on to the next one? Now, the second problem, second example is there is an insurance company which is providing insurance to 2,000 scooter drivers and it is providing insurance to some 4,000 car drivers and 6,000 truck drivers. There is an insurance company which is providing insurance to so and so persons. So and so persons. Right? Now, if the probability of the accident which involves the scooter drivers is 0.01. It is given a probability of the scooter driver involving in the accident is 0.01. Probability of the car driver involving in accident is 0.03. And for truck driver, it is given as 0.15. Now, let us suppose if there is one person who met with an accident. If there is a person met with an accident. Now, what are we supposed to find is find the probability if this person is a scooter driver. If the person who met with an accident is a scooter driver, then you find the probability. Is it clear? There is an insurance company which is providing insurance to 2,000 scooter drivers, car drivers and truck drivers. Okay. Now, the probability of the accident with respect to scooter drivers and car drivers and truck drivers is also given. It is 0.0103 and 15. If any one person is met with an accident, what is the probability if that person is a scooter driver? You have to find. Clear, ma? Right. Let me write here. So it is given that the probability of the scooter driver, is what? So 2,000 by 2,000 plus 4,000 plus 6,000, right? So that is 2 by 12. That is 1 by 6. Similarly, probability of the car driver is how much, ma'am? 4,000 by, that is 4 by 12. So you can write it as 1 by 3. Probability of the truck driver is 6 by 12, that is 1 by 2. Now it is also given that probability of an accident with respect to scooter driver is also given as 0.01, and the probability of an accident with respect to car is given as 0.03. Probability of an accident with respect to truck is given as 0.15. Now what are we supposed to find? What is the probability if the person is a scooter driver? If the person who met with an accident is a scooter driver, right? This you need to find. Now what is the formula? P of S into P of A by S whole divided by P of S into P of A by S plus P of C into P of A by C plus P of T into P of A by T. Is it clear? You substitute all these values in this and you will get one value. I am not doing the simplification part here. Is it okay? So have you understood this, ma? So this is about the discrete probability distribution. You want me to go slowly? Okay. Should I repeat this problem? Sridhar. Okay. Any other doubts, ma? Other than Sridhar, is anyone? Have you understood the previous example? 520 Sridhar. So let me explain this one more time. So there is an insurance company. So there is an insurance company. Insurance company and it provides an insurance. So it is providing insurance to 2,000 scooter drivers. And it is also providing insurance to 4,000 car drivers. And insurance to 6,000 truck drivers. So you know what is this insurance means, right? So if any one of the person is met with an accident, it will provide some money, right? So here the probability of the accident which involves the scooter driver is also given. So it is given as 0.01. Probability of the accident involving car driver is given as 0.03. Probability of the accident involving truck is given as 0.15. Right? Let me write it here. Probability of the scooter driver is what? So it is providing insurance to 2,000 scooter drivers out of 12,000 drivers. Out of 12,000 person, 2,000 are scooter drivers. So probability of the scooter driver is 2,000 by 2,000 plus 4,000 plus 6,000. Clear? Now it is 2 by 12 which is equal to 1 by 6. Similarly, probability of the car driver is 4 by 12. 4,000 by 12,000. Actually it is 4,000 by 12,000, that is 1 by 3. Probability of the truck driver is 6,000 by 12,000. It is 1 by 2. What else is given? probability of the accident with respect to scooter driver is given as 0.01. Probability of an accident with respect to car is given as 0.03. Probability of the accident with respect to truck is given as 0.15. We have to find what we have to find the probability. If any person is met with an accident, find the probability if that person is from scooter driver. If a person is met with an accident, what is the probability if he is the scooter driver? So using this Bayes theorem, you know the formula for P of S by A. It is equal to P of S into P of A by S whole divided by, how many are there? 3 persons are there. P of S into P of A by S plus car drivers P of C into P of A by C plus truck drivers P of T into P of A by T. Users substitute these for values. P of S is 1 by 6. A by S is what? 0.01 whole divided by P of S is 1 by 6 into 0.01 plus P of C is 1 by 3 into 0.03 plus P of T is 1 by 2 into 0.15. So you just simplify this. So it is 0.1 by 6 whole divided by 0.1 plus LCM is 6, right? So it is 2 into 0.3, 0.06 plus here it is 3 into 0.15, that is 0.3 by 6. So this 6 will get cancelled. 0.1 by 0.01 plus 0.06 plus, sorry, it is 0.45. 15 3s are 45, right? So 0.45 plus 0.06 plus 0.01, it is 5 plus 6 plus 1, that is 12. 2, 4 plus 1 is 5. So it is 0.52. Therefore, it is 1 by 52. The probability of the accident person, probability of a person if he is an accident person, if he is from scooter driver, is 1 by 52. Clear? Is it clear now? So what we have discussed as of now is in discrete probability distribution. It is also known as what? Discrete probability distribution is also known as what? Can anyone tell me? In the last class I told you there is another name for discrete probability distribution. What is that? Probability mass function. Probability mass function, right? So we have two types of probability distribution: discrete probability and continuous probability distribution, right? Continuous probability distribution, this is also known as probability mass function. So what is the main difference between the two, ma? So based on the random variable. So if the random variable is countable or definite, if the random variable is countable or definite, we'll call it as a PMF or discrete probability distribution. If the random variable is infinite, then we'll call it as continuous probability distribution. Clear? So in the previous class, we have seen what is the sample space, what is an event, what is a random experiment. Based on these three terms, we have defined the probability, right? After that, we have seen what is a mean, variance and standard deviation. What is the formula for minima? X into P of X. For variance, it is x square, summation of x into P of X. For variance, summation of x square into P of X minus mean square. Square root of variance will give you the standard deviation. What are the two conditions to be satisfied for a PMF? A PMF has to satisfy two conditions. First one is the probability value should never be negative. It should never be negative. Sum of all the probabilities should always equal to 1 in case of a discrete probability distribution. After that, we have seen the Bayes theorem. So this is about the first part of your fourth unit. Have you understood, ma? Then we'll move on to the second part of your fourth unit, that is recurrence relations. Recurrence relations. Second part is advanced counting techniques. Under this, we'll see recurrence relations first. Advanced counting techniques. First, we'll see recurrence relations. So, the recurrence relation means this recurrence relation. Consider there is a sequence AN. There is a sequence AN which has some A0, A1, A2, so on. Right? So, for this sequence, the recurrence relation for the sequence is an equation. Is an equation which is expressed in terms of AN. Which is expressed in terms of AN. Sorry, 1 second. So this there is one sequence. Consider there is one sequence AN. AN sequence means it will contain n number of terms. So n terms are there from A0 to AN. A0 to AN, right? So for this sequence, recurrence relation means it is an equation. It is an equation in terms of one or more of the previous terms. One or more of the previous terms of this sequence. So this equation AN is equivalent to one or more of the previous terms in the sequence. That means A1 can be expressed with in an equation form which involves its previous terms. What are the previous terms for A1? There is only one previous term for A1, that is A0, right? So you can something like A1 equal to 2A0. We'll call it as one recurrence relation. Why? Because this A1 is expressed in terms of its previous terms. This A. Similarly, A2, if you write A2 as some 3A1 plus 4A0. So this A2 is expressed in terms of its previous terms A1 and 0. So we'll call it as one recurrence relation. So in the same way, in general, the recurrence relation for the sequence AN is AN, which is expressed in terms of its previous terms, which is involving its one or more previous term. Any of the previous terms can be involved. So here two previous terms are involved. You can have one more recurrence relation which involves three previous terms, right? So the recurrence relation involves one or more of its previous terms from this sequence. So the recurrence relation is also known as difference relation. Clear? So there is one sequence AN, and the equation for this sequence is known as a recurrence relation, which involves one or more of its previous terms. Let me tell you one example. Consider there is a sequence. Consider there is a sequence S equal to 5, 8, 11, 14, 17 and so on. Now write the recurrence relation for this particular sequence. Generally we'll write the recurrence relation means the general formula you are writing, which means you are writing the general formula for the nth term, which means the recurrence relation for the given sequence, right? So here, what is the first term? The first term in the sequence is 5. We'll call it as initial condition. Always the first term in the sequence is known as the initial condition, right? So when you observe the terms in this sequence, what is the common difference between the terms? Here between 5 and 8 we have plus 3 and plus 3. That means from first term, when you add plus 3 to the first term, you will get the second term. It can be written as S1 plus 3. You can write S2 as S1 plus 3. Similarly, S3 is what, ma? What is the value of S3? Third term in the sequence is 11, right? You can write it as 8 plus 3, where 8 equal to S2 plus 3. So S3 is equal to S2 plus 3. S2 is equal to S1 plus 3. S1 is equal to S3. Similarly, S4 is 14. You can write it as 11 plus 3, which is S3 plus 3. S4 is. So after observing all these sequences S2, S3 and S4, you can write the general formula Sn is equal to Sn minus 1 plus 3. This is known as the recurrence relation for the given sequence. So according to the definition of the recurrence relation, you will write the general formula for the nth term by using its previous term. So for n, the previous term is n minus 1. So we'll call it as a recurrence relation. Some of you have not understood, so let me explain one more time. Recurrence relation means if there is one sequence an, sequence means what? It will have n terms. So this is one sequence, right? So the recurrence relation for this particular sequence is an equation. The recurrence relation for a sequence is an equation. Equation means we are writing the generalized formula. Generalized formula for the nth term. For the nth term of the sequence, right? That is what a recurrence relation means, right? So you will write a generalized formula, right? So now this generalized formula, it involves or it is expressed by using its previous terms, one or more of its previous terms, right? So an can be expressed with one or more of its previous terms, right? So you can call this as one recurrence relation where this nth term is expressed by using its previous terms, right? So this is known as a recurrence relation. Clear, ma? So when you consider one sequence, this sequence, the recurrence relation for this sequence means it is an equation which is expressed by using one or more of the previous terms of the nth term. Consider the example. Consider there is one set S which is having the elements 5, 8, 11, so on. So when you observe this, the common difference between the elements. So here we are supposed to find the recurrence relation for this sequence. Find the recurrence relation for this sequence, right? So what is the first term? First term is 5. Always the first term in the sequence, we'll call it as the initial condition. Initial condition. So this is the first term, right? Not now. What is the second term? 8. You can write this 8 as 5 plus 3, right? It is equal to 5 means what? Your S1 plus 3. So S2 can be expressed. S2 is expressed by using its previous term S1. So we'll call it as one recurrence relation. But this is not the generalized one. Generalized one means when you apply any value for n, that equation should be true. That is the generalized formula. Similarly, what is the third term? 11. You can write this 11. You know that the common difference is 3, right? So you can write this as 8 plus 3, where 8 equal to what? Your S2 plus 3. So S3 can be written as S2 plus 3. S2 is S1 plus 3. Similarly, you can write S4 as S3 plus 3. And you can write S5 as S4 plus 3. So on, when you can also write Sn as Sn minus 1 plus 3. Sn equal to Sn minus 1 plus 3. This is the corresponding recurrence relation for the given sequence. Is it clear? 520. Mommy, I want to wear my dress. Wait for one minute, ma. Next example is, consider a recurrence relation is given as AK is equal to 2AK minus 1 plus K. 2AK minus 1 2AK minus 1 plus K for all the values of K greater than or equal to 2. For all the values of K greater than or equal to 2, and the initial condition is also given. Initial condition means the first term. So initial condition is given as A1 equal to 1. Find the first 4 terms of this recurrence relation. First 4 terms. right? You need to find the first four terms, right? So first term is also already given as a1 equal to 1. Now consider k equal to 2. K equal to 2. Then a2 is equal to, you just substitute in this formula, 2a k minus 1 plus k. So it is 2a1 plus 2. a1 is what? 1. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Similarly, consider k equal to 3, a3 equal to 2, a2 plus 3. 2 into a2 is 4 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is 11. Now k equal to 4. So a4 equal to 2a3 plus 4. 2 into a3 is 11 plus 4. 22 plus 4 is 26. So the first four terms of this sequence are what? First term is 1. Next 4, 11, 26. Is it clear? So any recurrence relation can be expressed in more than one way. Any recurrence relation can be expressed in more than one way. Let us suppose you have one recurrence relation an equal to 3an minus 1, right? So this is one recurrence relation. The same relation can be expressed, also be expressed in another way as an plus 1 equal to 3an, right? So that is means one recurrence relation can be expressed in more than one way, more than one way. Now the next example is, consider the next example. Let an is a sequence which is satisfying the recurrence relation an equal to an minus 1 minus an minus 2 for n equal to 2 to so on, 2, 3, 4, so on. And the initial conditions are also given. A0 equal to 3 and A1 equal to 5. These two are given and this is the recurrence relation. You need to find the next two terms in the sequence, that is A2 and A3. A2 and A3. Right? So first A2. A2 means what? Your n value equal to 2. So A2 equal to an minus 1. An minus 1. Sorry. Minus an minus 2. So it is equal to a1 minus a0. a1 is given as 5, a0 is given as 3, that equal to 2. So a2 equal to 2. Similarly a3, that means n equal to 3. a3 minus 1 minus a3 minus 2. So a2 minus a1. a2 is 2, a1 is 5. 2 minus 5 is minus 3. So in this way, for any recurrence, if a recurrence relation is given and the initial terms are given, you can find the remaining terms in the sequence. Next example. Determine whether the sequence an, where an equal to 3n, is a solution for the recurrence relation an equal to 2an minus 1 minus an minus 2 for n equal to 2, 3, 4. Clear? Determine, you need to check whether this sequence an equal to 3n is the solution for the recurrence. Always sequence is the solution for the recurrence relation. Sequence is the solution for recurrence relation, right? So here this sequence is given. You need to check whether this sequence is the solution for the given recurrence relation or not, right? So we will check whether it is true or not, right? So what is the relation given? My an equal to 2 an minus 1 minus an minus 2, and it is given that an equal to 3n, right? So it is it. That means after simplifying this, you should get 3n here. an equal to 3n you should get. Then you can say that this sequence is the solution for this relation, right? Now check ma. 2 into what is an? If it is an, it is 3n. an minus 1. That means in place of n, we have n minus 1. So it is 3 into n minus 1 minus 3 into n minus 2. Clear? Now you just simplify this. 2 into 6n minus 3 minus of 3n minus 2. 3n minus 6, sorry. 3n minus 6. 12n minus 6 minus 3n plus 6. So this it is 3n. 3n minus 3. So 2 into 3 is 6. 6n minus 3n is 3n, right? So an equal to 3n we got, right? So after simplifying this recurrence relation, we got an equal to 3n, which is the given sequence. Therefore, you can say that the given sequence an equal to 3n is a solution for the given recurrence relation. Is it clear? Next, there is one more solution given as the sequence given as an equal to 2 power n. For the same recurrence relation, you need to check whether this sequence an equal to 2 power n is a solution for the recurrence relation 2an minus 1 minus an minus 2. Clear? In the previous case, the solution is given as an equal to 3 power n. So 3n. Now you need to check an equal to 2 power n, whether it is a solution or not, right? Let me check. An equal to 2 an minus 1 minus n minus 2, right? So consider the value of n equal to 2. Then when you consider n equal to 2, a2 will be what now? A2 is 2 . One second. So you can write this as an equal to 2 power n. So an minus 1 equal to 2 power n minus 1. 2 power n minus 1. Similarly, an minus 2 is equal to 2 power n minus 2. 2 power n minus 2. Right? Now, let us assume that n equal to 2. Then you will get 2 into 2 power n minus 2 minus 1 is 1 minus 2 power 0. 2 power 0. Right? So it is 4. 2 into 2 is 4. Similarly, consider n equal to 3. then you will get what? A3 equal to A3 equal to 2 into 2 power 3 for n equal to 3. What will be the value of an? An equal to what? 2 into an minus 1. An minus 1 means 2 power 3 minus 1. It is 2. Minus 2 power 3 minus 2. That is 1. So 2 into 4. That is 8 minus 2, which equal to 4. Right? So here we got A2 equal to 4 and A3 equal to 4 here. Right? So substitute in this formula. An. Let us consider A2 here. A2 is equal to 2 into an minus 1. Consider n as 2, then it is 2 into a1, 2 into a1 minus a0, minus a0. Right? So after finding the value, using n equal to 2, n equal to 3, n equal to 4, after substituting, you will get the values of a1, a2 and a3. And substitute these formulas, substitute the values of a1 and a0 here, then you will get the value for a2. So if you get a 4 value here, if you get a value of 4 for this a2, then you can say that this an equal to 2 power n is the solution for the given recurrence relation. If you don't get the value, if the value is not equivalent to 4, then it is not the solution. Clear? First, what we are doing is, here first it is given that you need to, here we are asked you to find whether this an equal to 2 power n is the solution for the recurrence relation. Right? So what I am doing is, first I am taking the values of n. It is also given that n equal to, for all n equal to 2, 3, 4, so on, right? So let me take n equal to 2 first. If you take n equal to 2 here, you will get a2. If you take n equal to 3, you will get a3. If you take n equal to 4, you will get a4, right? So substitute those n values here. Substitute those n values here. Then you just compare with, in the problem it is given that n equal to 2, 3, 4. In the problem it was mentioned n equal to 2, 3, 4, 9f. For n equal to 2, 3, 4, you have to check whether the given sequence is a solution for the recurrence relation or not. Given sequence is a solution or not. Clear? Sorry. Okay, it is 6. C 526. Yes, it is 6. Next one is, there is a person A who deposits some amount, some 10,000 rupees in his bank account. There is one person who deposits some 10,000 rupees into his savings account, right? Whenever you deposit some amount in the bank will give you the interest. Let us suppose here the bank is providing an interest of 11% every year, and it is providing some compound interest. Let us suppose it is providing 11% of interest, compound interest every year. Generally it won't happen, but assume that a compound interest of 11% is given. What we have to find is, calculate what is the amount in his account after 30 years. After 30 years, what is the amount in his account? This you need to find by finding the recurrence relation. Right? So the problem is given that a person is there who deposits some amount into his savings account, and the bank is providing him 11% of compound interest every year. You need to check, find the recurrence relation for this particular problem, and using this recurrence relation, calculate the amount in his account after 30 years, right? So assume that some amount, some PN is the amount in his account after n years. Assume PN is the amount in his account after n years. So n years, after n years, PN is the amount, means what? It contains what? The amount present in n minus 1 years plus 11% of interest in the nth year. Is it clear? So 10,000 rupees is there in this month, means in the next year, how much amount? So in the first year, assume that some 10,000 rupees is there. Now in the second year, he will have 10,000 rupees plus how much interest it is providing? 11%. 11% interest in the second year. 11% interest of the second year, right? So what is this 10,000? 10,000 is the amount in the previous year, that is n minus 1th year. So if PN is the amount after n years, it can be equivalent to this n amount in after n years is also equivalent to the amount after n minus 1 years plus the interest of the current year, that is 11% interest of the nth year. So this can be written as PN equal to, you can write the amount after n minus 1 years plus 11% of interest plus 11% of interest in the nth year. Okay. So this can be written as PN equal to PN minus 1 plus 11% of interest means 0, 11 by 100 into Pn minus 1. So it is Pn minus 1 plus 0.11 into Pn minus 1, it is equal to 1.11 into Pn minus 1. Okay. So Pn equal to, the generalized recurrence relation is Pn equal to 1.11 into Pn minus 1. Right? So consider n equal to 1, then P1 equal to 1.11 into Pn minus 1, that is P0. P0 means initial amount. What is the initial amount? Initial amount is 10,000 rupees. Right? So you can write P11 equal to 1.11 into P0. Similarly, P2 is equivalent to what? P2, 1.11 into P1. So 1.11 into P1 is again 1.11. So I can write 1.11 whole square into P0. Similarly, you can write P3 equal to 1.11 into P2. So it can be written as 1.11 into P2 is 1.11 whole square into P0. So it is power 3 into P0. So what are we supposed to find? After 30 years, what is the amount? So it can be 1.11 to the power of 30 into P0. That is 10,000 rupees. Is it clear? Have you understood this, ma? Everyone? Yes or no? Let me know, ma, whether you understood or not. Once again. $526, you asked me for one more time, right? So here the problem is there is one person, he deposits 10,000 rupees into his savings account. Bank lo deposit చేసినప్పుడు ఏమైతుందమ్మా, it will provide you some interest, right? So assume that the bank is providing some 11% of interest, compound interest it is providing. So that means more interest it is providing. Interest on interest, right? Compound interest means. Right? So we have to find when this amount, this much of interest is provided, find what is the amount in his account after 30 years. It is to be calculated, right? By calculating, by finding the recurrence relation, by finding the recurrence relation. So if you want to calculate for 30 years, what we have to do? First it is initially 10,000. So 11% of first year, how much will be the amount in his account? 11% of 10,000 plus 10,000, right? So first year enta amount untadamma, already 10,000 is there in his account, plus on this amount it is providing 11% of interest. So this is amount in his account after first year. Second year enta, let us suppose this value is some x. So second year ఏమవుతుంది, అమౌంట్ ఎంత ఉన్నది ప్లస్ ఈ ఆల్రెడీ ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ లో ఇక్కడ ఎంత అమౌంట్ వచ్చింది, ఫస్ట్ ఇయర్ లో ఇక్కడ ఎంత అమౌంట్ వచ్చింది, ఆన్ దిస్ అమౌంట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ అగైన్ ప్రొవైడ్స్ సమ్ 11% ఆఫ్ ది interest, 11% of the interest. So in this way, if you want to find after 30 years, you have to calculate for every year. That will be difficult. First year, second year, third, fourth, like that you have to find for 30 years. That will be difficult. That is the reason you will write the generalized formula. That is the recurrence relation you will find, and you can easily calculate the amount after 100 years also. Let me write the relation first. So assume that PN is the amount in his account after n years. After n years. So after n years means what? One second. Hello? Hello? So after the amount after n years means what? It contains the amount in the account after n minus 1 years. Previous year వరకు ఎంత అమౌంట్ ఉంది, ప్లస్ along with that it will provide some 11% interest on the amount. 11% interest on the amount. Previous n minus 1 years, how much amount is there, plus to the current year, that is to the nth year, it will again provide the 11% of the interest. 11% of the interest, right? So PN is equal to the amount to, PN is the amount after n years. Then what is the amount after n minus 1 years? PN minus 1 plus 11% of the PN minus 1. Previous year అప్పటి వరకు n minus 1 years వరకు ఎంత అమౌంట్ ఉంది, on that it will again provide some 11% of the interest. Is it clear? So PN minus 1 plus 11% means 0.11 into Pn minus 1. So you can write it as, you just take this Pn minus 1 as common, then you will get 1.11 into Pn minus 1. So Pn equal to 1.11 into Pn minus 1. So you know that initial there is an amount of initial condition is P0 equal to 10,000 because initially there is an amount of 10,000, right? Then what is P1? P1 is equal to 1.11 into Pn minus 1, that is P0. So 1.1, P1 equal to 1.11 into P0. Similarly, P2 is equal to what? 1.11 into, here n equal to 2. So Pn minus 1, that is P1. What is P1? 1.11 into P0. So you can write it as P2 equal to 1.11 power 2 into P0. Similarly, P3 is equal to 1.11, n equal to 3. So into P2. So 1.11 into, what is P2? 1.11 power 2 into P0. So you can write P3 as 1.11 whole power 3 power into P0. So in what are we supposed to find? You have to find P30 after 30 years. So 1.11 power 30 into P0. That is 1.11 whole power 30 into 10,000. Clear? So this is the amount in his account after 30 years. Is it clear now? 526. Who asked me? One second. So next we'll see Towers of Hanoi problem. How to get the recurrence relation for Towers of Hanoi. Can anyone try how to get the recurrence relation for Towers of Hanoi? First of all, tell me whether you know the Towers of Hanoi problem or not. You know the Towers of Hanoi problem or not? Yes. Haven't you come across this Towers of Hanoi previously, ma'am? Okay, let me explain. 9F once again. So Towers of Hanoi means, suppose there are some 3 stands or some 3 pegs are there. Here we have some 3 stands like this, right? So here on the first stand, some discs were placed. Some discs were placed in the order. Means smallest disc on the top, the largest disc on the bottom, right? So this is first stand. 3 stands we have, right? So Towers of Hanoi means, here the question is, the requirement is, I want to place all these discs onto the second peg in the same order. That is, the largest disc should be at the bottom, smallest disc should be on the top. The requirement is, the largest disc should be at the bottom, and the smallest disc should be on the top. Clear? You have to move this disc between these 3 pegs such that all these discs should appear on the second peg in the order I mentioned. Right? So how many moves are required, or you need to get the recurrence relation for these towers of Hanoi. Okay. So how you can move, ma? Or else tell me what can be the recurrence relation for this problem? Can anyone give me the solution? So here the condition is the disk, the rule of this problem is the disks to be moved one at a time from one peg to the another peg. And a disk of larger size should not be placed on a disk of a small size, right? You have to move the disks one by one from one peg to the another peg, and always the largest should be at the bottom and smallest should be on the top. You cannot place like this, right? So you need to find the recurrence relation for this problem. Recurrence relation for this problem. Can anyone guess what can be the recurrence relation? So here what we can do, first leave the nth block on peg 1, except this last block, move all the blocks from n minus 1 to the first block onto peg 3. Why? Because I want all the pegs on the all the discs on the second peg. That is the requirement. What is your requirement? You want the discs on the second stand. Disc should be on peg 2. This is the condition or the requirement, right? So to satisfy this requirement, what we can do is, first of all, you can move all the n minus 1 discs from peg 1 to 3. n minus 1 disc ni ikkadiki move chesanamma, so that only the nth disc, that is the largest disc, will be there on peg 1, and you have to move only one disc at a time. So first one disc is to be moved at a time, right? Now what we can do is, the largest disc, that is one disc, can be moved from peg 1 to peg 2. Peg 1 to peg 2. So, one second. So, this is the initial position, 1, 2, 3. So, what I am doing is, here you have the largest disc, and the remaining all I am moving to. So here we have n minus 1 disc, and one disc is there here. This is 1, 2, 3. Now what I am doing is, this largest disc I am moving it to peg 2. So initially n minus 1 discs are moved from 1 to 3, and one disc is moved from peg 1 to peg 2, so that you can have like this. Here you have the largest disc, and you have the remaining n minus 1 disc. So this is the first position, second position, and this is the third position. Now here this is same problem. Here we again got the same problem. Here we again got n disc. Assume that here we have n disc, and you have to place all these n discs onto this second peg. So whatever the procedure we have followed, the same procedure have to be followed. So leave this last block or the last disc and move all these n minus 1 blocks onto peg 1. Move all the remaining n minus 1 blocks from this peg 1, peg 3 to peg 1, and the last block is there, no, the largest block. This you can move on to peg 2. That is one move. So when you observe this, how many moves it is involving to solve this towers of Hanoi problem. Hn is the total number of moves required to get all the discs on the second peg in a order. How many moves you require? So here n minus 1 discs you are performing for 2 times. 2 times you are considering n minus 1 disc, right? That is, first time you are moving from peg 1, n minus discs you are moving from peg 1 to peg 3, and peg 1 to peg 3. One move is to move the largest disc from peg 1 to peg 2, n minus 1. On every peg, the disc should be in the order. The largest should be on the at the bottom, smallest should be on the top. So, n minus 1 moves you required to move from 1 to 3. 1 move is required to move from 1 to 2. Same on the peg 3, the same problem will repeat. So, again n minus 1 moves you required. Therefore, you can write this generalized recurrence relation for this as Hn equal to 2Hn minus 1 plus 1. 2Hn minus 1. Hn equal to 2Hn minus 1 plus 1. 2Hn minus 1 plus 1. So can you simplify this? Can you simplify this? Try to simplify this recurrence relation. Hn equal to 2Hn minus 1 plus 1. Hn equal to 2Hn minus 1 plus 1. You just simplify, ma. With the initial condition as H1 equal to 1. The initial condition as H1 equal to 1. Simplify this and tell me the equation for Hn. Simplify this recurrence relation and tell me what is the equation for Hn we will get. Can you do it, ma? Can the disc on peg 3 can be in order? We can remove any disc randomly or top to bottom. I told you, ma. So the solution is you can have the discs in order. That means only the largest should be at the bottom and the smallest should be on the top. Something like this. Let me 61 from CSCD. So here we have n discs, right? Initially we have the disc like this on peg 1, right? You want this structure, the same structure should be on the second peg. This is our requirement. Ila kavali. Same disc anevi second peg meeda ide order lo undali. That is the requirement, right? So what I am doing is, first I am placing the n minus 1. Ikkadi nunchi ikkadiki. Last the leave chestunnamma. I am not considering the last one. So first I will do like this. First one, second disc, third, like this. All the n minus 1 discs, first I can move to peg 2. But this should not be the case. So as according to the rules of towers of Hanoi, you should not have the discs in the order. You should have the largest on the at the bottom, smallest on the top. Next, what I am doing is, next what we can do, you can move from peg 2 to peg 3. So the largest will come here. After that, why I am doing like this? Why? Because only one peg at a time can be moved from only one disc at a time can be moved from one peg to the another peg. Is it clear? So if you want, I'll write with the numbers. First, let us assume that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 discs are there, ma. This is first peg, peg A, peg B, and peg C. 5 discs unnai kada ikkada. So only one disc at a time can be moved, right? So em chestunanu, first I am moving the first peg. First peg ni B loki move chestanu. Next I am moving the second peg. Next I am moving the third peg, and I am moving the fourth peg. That means n equal to 5 here. Here you have moved only n minus 1. Any moves ayamma? N minus 1 moves. N minus 1 moves, right? Next what I am doing is, this fourth disc I am moving to here. 4, 3, 2, and 1. ఇక్కడ ఎన్ని మూవ్స్ అయ్యాయమ్మా? అగైన్ n minus 1 moves. That is 2 into n minus 1 moves. Plus, ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ ఏమైపోయింది? ఇక్కడంతా ఎంటీ అయిపోయింది. On the second peg you have moved the disc from second peg to the third peg. So your second peg is empty. How many discs are there on the first peg? You have moved the disc from 1 to 4. So still one more peg is there. One more disc is there. That one disc, that is the largest disc. Fifth disc I am moving on to second peg. So how many moves? 1 move. So n minus 1. 2 times n minus 1 moves you are performing, and 1 move. Clear? Therefore, you can write it as Hn. Towers of Hanoi, n moves equal to, it involves 2 times Hn minus 1 plus 1. With an initial condition as H1 equal to 1. Why? Because for the first time you are moving one disc from peg A to peg B. Is it clear now? Ardhamainda amma, how you got this recurrence relation? So smallest one. Last ki నువ్వు ఎలా అయితే 561 నువ్వు మధ్యలో ఎలాంటి మూవ్స్ అయినా ఉండొచ్చమ్మా. ఇన్ ద మిడిల్ యూ కెన్ హ్యావ్ లైక్ ఎనీ, మిడిల్ లో ఎట్లాంటి మూవ్స్ అయినా ఉండొచ్చు. లాస్ట్ లో నీకు ఇక్కడ పెగ్ 1 సెకండ్. హలో హలో శ్రీకాంత్ పంపిస్తాను. 61 చూడు, మధ్యలో నీకు ఎంత నువ్వు ఎట్లా అయినా స్వాప్ చేసుకో. బట్ లాస్ట్ కి వచ్చేసరికి నాకు ఇక్కడ పెగ్ 3 లో ఎలా ఉన్నాయమ్మా, ఆర్డర్ లో ఉన్నాయో లేదా? స్మాలెస్ట్ ఆన్ ద బాటమ్, స్మాల్ అండ్ ద లార్జెస్ట్ ఆన్ ద టాప్. ఇలా వచ్చే విధంగా యూ హ్యావ్ టు మూవ్ ద డిస్క్. ఇన్ మిడిల్ లో నువ్వు ఎట్లా, ఇక్కడ మిడిల్ లో పెగ్ 2 లో ఏమైంది, రివర్స్ ఆర్డర్ వచ్చింది. బట్ ఎట్ ద ఎండ్ యూ గాట్ ద ఆర్డర్ ఇన్ దిస్ ఆర్ నాట్. ద లార్జెస్ట్ ఆన్ ద టాప్, స్మాలెస్ట్ ఆన్ ద ఎట్ ద బాటమ్. Is it clear? Any other doubts? Any other doubts? Yeah. Now we have to simplify this recurrence relation, and you need to what we call, get the generalized formula for this towers of Hanoi. Shall I continue, or you will attempt the quiz? When is your next class?